Shearer. Thanks. Thanks for coming down. No, that's not necessary. Oh, come on. Like Bill Clinton checking his presidential ID to make absolutely sure that Jimmy Carter isn't still president, this is later. Welcome, everybody. I'm Greg Kinnear. I watched the O.J. arraignment on television today. Many of you see this? Yeah, just amazing, heartbreaking. He's standing there with his attorney. The judge asked him, the only question that she asked O.J. is it correct your name is O.J. Simpson? And I'm thinking to myself, doesn't anybody read the newspapers anymore? I mean, of course. We got a good show for you tonight in spite of all that. A couple of media bites for you here. These are bits and pieces from the news you folks just may have missed. George Michael lost his lawsuit against the Sony Corporation in London yesterday. I know how you feel. He was trying to be released from the contract he signed with Sony in 1988. He held a press conference after the ruling was announced to point out some of the problems he has with his current contract, George Michael.
Perhaps most importantly, I have no right to resign. In fact, there is no such thing as resignation for an artist in the music industry.
I don't know. Elvis figured out a way to do it. Artists can't resign from the music business. Is that mind-boggling? I mean, I suppose it explains Michael Bolton, but it's... Federal Reserve Board Chairman Alan Greenspan spoke before the House Budget Committee in Washington, D.C. I guess this was, what, today? Yes, indeed. He had some good news about the U.S. economy. Here now is Mr. Greenspan and his upbeat remarks.
The outlook for the American economy is as bright as it has been in decades. Economic activity has strengthened, unemployment is down, and price trends have remained subdued.
That would certainly explain the festive party atmosphere, wouldn't it? Oh, yeah. The only man who can subdue price trends with his voice. That is Mr. Greenspan. You probably heard that the Walt Disney Company wants to build a historical theme park, I guess just outside of Virginia, called Disney's America, or America's Disney, or Disney in America, or America in Disney, or something like that, some variation thereof. Thank you. Some people who live in that area object because the land's historical importance is too important to build this establishment on. Here, Disney CEO Michael Eisner disputes that argument. Take a look at this.
There are extremely important and intelligent and wealthy people who live just west of our site. We are not on any kind of national prestigious site. There are no ghosts of Civil War soldiers lying in the fields that we are going to unearth.
But if there are, Mr. Eisner says he'll be glad to have them dress up in goofy costumes and sweep up cigarette butts for minimum wage. So, that's if there are. First planned attraction goes to Civil War soldiers of the Caribbean. That's what they tell me. I don't know if that's true or not. Finally tonight, according to polls released last week, soccer players come in at the top of women's list of athletes with the sexiest legs. Sir, you're going to have to keep it down. Soccer fever apparently has gotten to the point of delirium. Here, U.S. forward Eric Winaldo comments on why he shaves his legs.
Well, it started about 2 years ago when I had an injury, and I had to be massaged daily, and they had to remove the hair in a certain area, so it looked silly to have blotches of hair, so I shaved the whole thing.
Yes, indeed. He also claims his soccer shoes look like a bump, but feel like a sneaker. Yeah. You know, these crazy soccer people, I'll tell you, they're amazing.
What? You know what this reminds me? It reminds me of the day that you came into work, and in honor of the World Cup coming to America, you did everything without your hands.
I don't remember that day.
Remember, you came in and you did everything without your hands all day long.
Oh, that day! Yeah, that day. That was a crazy day. Now, the NBC brass has called me Something Stinks Here, and it's these scripts. I gotta tell you, they're not good.
Well, my little schnookums, I know a place on the east side if you're interested in Italian. Yeah. Hold on for a second.
Hello. Tell NBC I don't care about ratings. That's not my problem. Yeah.
Ah, so maybe 5 o'clock? Sounds awfully good.
I'll never forget that day. That was the day I got fired from NBC. Hey, remember that day you actually came into the office and you didn't use your head at all? Remember?
No.
Oh. Well, we got a great show for you anyway, folks. Thanks for coming down. Mr. Harry Shearer is here. Thank you. Welcome back. My guest tonight just celebrated his 10th anniversary as host of the syndicated radio program Le Show. He played Derek Smalls in the film This Is Spinal Tap, and he does many of the voices on The Simpsons, the most popular of which is, of course, O.J. Ladies and gentlemen, Harry Shearer.
The music's so loud, you barely hear myself.
What?
Barely hear myself not think.
You know what'll get the audience going every time?
What's
is when
that?
you come out and just go, right on, dude, like that.
In the old days, you'd say Brooklyn in New York, and the audience would go like that. So now... This is
Kind of a deathly quiet when
No.
you say it here.
a pall descends.
You seem like you're in a good mood. Actually, you were on the show once before. You strike me as a person who's kind of happy-go-lucky, wakes up in the morning and says, hey, life's going to be okay. That's what I think of Harry Shearer. True?
Kinda. Yeah.
How's that for a first question?
Kinda. I do wake up in the morning, so that much is true. You got me there. By the way, how about that game?
Oh, my goodness.
Was that some game?
That was something else. And whoever would have thought that they'd pull it off?
Unbelievable.
I mean...
Man, I either won or lost so much money on that thing.
And the basket being sunk.
Oh, the thing with the guy with the hands.
A lot of sweat. Oh.
And the pants.
Harry's referring to the fact that it's noon here. Let me ask you, speaking of current events and events that have already transpired, unlike the basketball game, the O.J. Simpson scenario, Friday, the car chase, this was an unbelievable thing. I know that you keep your eye on the media. You followed this, I trust.
Yes, I did, although I was in an unusual vantage point because I was working on a movie, and so I had to depend on the whole set had to depend on a guy running in with a transistor radio, reporting half fact, half rumor, which of course was everybody else was
everybody, yeah. Peter Jennings was doing that as well.
I know. I have only one thing to say about that call that got through to Peter Jennings. Anybody who knows anything about Los Angeles knows that O.J. Simpson doesn't have a black neighbor within 20 miles of him.
Yeah,
so that would be A. And B, you've got a camera on the car in the driveway. These are huge estates festooned with trees. What the hell is a next-door neighbor going to be able to tell you that you're not seeing on camera? So that guy is like a brainiac #1.
You're referring to the
Howard Stern call, yeah.
Right. There was a call that somebody made, and they fooled Peter Jennings and all of ABC News, I guess, because they got on the air. Right?
Well, he's a Canadian, though.
I hadn't even thought of that. Okay. See? Brooklyn.
Yeah, right.
Well, you used to write for the L.A. Times and
Yes.
Newsweek. How do you think this situation's been handled in terms of the media, in terms of the press attention?
Well, my favorite thing was the news stations here on the radio in Los Angeles who had this goofy idea. We think there's a very good chance that O.J. Simpson might be listening to us in his car right now. And all I'm thinking is, yeah, he's got a gun to his head. He's in a police escort driving very slowly down the 405. He says to Al Cowling, I want to know what Carter's doing in North Korea. Turn on KNX. What, he doesn't need to know the traffic. He's got a police escort. The weather is irrelevant. What the hell is he going to be turning on the news for?
you can find any Bon Jovi up there for me.
He's turning on gangster rap if he's turning on the radio at all at that point.
That's true. I mean, they I guess one after another people got on there. And
then they had those phone calls, which were amazing, that, you know, the people calling to try to talk him into pulling over. On my radio show last Sunday, I had the phone calls that they would have used had the chase run a little longer.
Of course. What would some of those have been?
Well, one of them was Joan Rivers, and I don't do her facially, so you just have to close your eyes now and imagine that she's on the phone saying, "O.J., listen, darling, we met last year at the Israel Bonds dinner at the Beverly Hilton. Listen, please. We all know loss. I just got my shopping show canceled, please. But, you know, it's how you deal with loss. I lost Edgar, but I made a TV movie out of it, and I starred as me. I'm not saying you necessarily have to star in the TV movie of this, but you're a very attractive African-American man."
And you do the face of Joan Rivers, Harry. Don't sell yourself short.
I thought I did the body. I didn't know I did the face. And Howard Stern also calling him up to say, "Listen, O.J., this is stupid. Pull a car over. I'll get you Miss Howard Stern in the cell for 15 minutes. She'll take a top off for you. Don't be a putz."
Yeah. It was through this whole thing. I wonder how reporters handle this, because the reporters have to, I guess, report on this with such amazing dignity. They're all like, you know, holding themselves together as best they can, and yet it's such a feeding frenzy. I wonder if they feel a little shame about it.
Well, the amazing thing to me is that you've got these guys like Peter Jennings and like Dan Rather sitting 3,000 miles away. What are they doing? They're watching television. Mm-hmm. They're watching television and telling you how to watch television, so you can watch television better.
Yes, that's true.
That's what's astonishing to me, you know.
So tell me about this. You're doing a radio show. I know it's back in New York. It's on public radio. It's J. Edgar.
J. Edgar! Exclamation point.
This is the story of J. Edgar Hoover.
J. Edgar Hoover, the late great director of the FBI. It premieres in New York this Saturday night on WNYC.
What exactly is it?
What exactly is what?
The show.
Oh, I see. Good question. It's a musical comedy, original musical comedy. Tom Leopold and I wrote the book and the lyrics, and Peter Matz wrote the score. It stars Kelsey Grammer as J. Edgar Hoover.
Of course.
And John Goodman from Roseanne as his lifetime lover, Clyde Tolson, who was assistant director of the Bureau. They sing love songs to each other, and it's a very sweet show.
Now, is that actual fact? I mean, we were discussing it. Is it common knowledge the romantic entanglements of J. Edgar and Tolson, Clyde Tolson?
Well, I'll tell you, I went to a place where they were auctioning off Walter Winchell's memorabilia. Winchell was this gossip columnist, incredibly powerful in this country during the J. Edgar Hoover era, and a great source of information for Hoover. And he had 30 years of letters from J. Edgar Hoover to him, and I read them, and every one of them ended with, "Clyde and I send our warmest regards." So something was going on there. Yes, it is.
Smells a little fishy.
Well, something's cooking in that oven, I can tell you. It is established that they were at least domestic partners. The rest we leave to the imagination, and my partners and I have very vivid imaginations, as you'll see if you hear the radio program.
How was he able to keep his life so personal when he was going out and attacking so many people?
Well, that's the amazing thing. He kept files on the secret or the personal lives of almost everybody in public life, and he used them pretty blatantly to blackmail people. He had more power for a longer period of time than anybody in American history. He bossed presidents around for 50 years.
Almost all his life was in this office, right?
Yes. Yeah. This is not what the Founding Fathers had in mind. And he specialized in having information on the sexual and other proclivities of people in public life, so that he had the goods on them, and he used that to maintain his own position.
Specialized in wearing a dress or two, didn't he, Harry?
He was known to don a frock.
We'll do a quick break and be right back with Harry Shearer. Don't go away.
J. Edgar, facing crime with a vengeance, with my crew of G-men gents. Just look at their buns, guns. Wait for J. Edgar. This nation needs heroes. Those losers and zeros.
So you're doing, you do voices for a lot of people that charm us every week for the show The Simpsons. That I think we're all.
Yes, I do, Greg. Yes, I do.
As a kid, isn't it true that you were actually cast in the pilot, of the, as Eddie Haskell in the pilot episode of Leave It to Beaver?
Yes, this is true. I played Eddie Haskell.
You could have been Eddie Haskell!
I could have died in Vietnam or whatever happened to him.
Okay. You're kind of bringing the room down now, Harry.
But I can always bring it back up.
What happened? Why didn't you continue to be?
Well, there are two explanations. Either I stank, or, and I prefer
I don't like that one.
I prefer not to go with that one. But my parents felt that it's okay to work. I was working a lot as a kid actor, but and I dropped change on the set all the time. And
happened to me too.
People felt that I just couldn't be trusted with the lead in the series. Now, my parents didn't want me to be in a show every week, totally apart from real life, with 200 guys on the crew standing around going, a kid looks a little weak today. You know, they just thought that's a little too much pressure for
That's probably
a child.
true. And yet one of your first, I guess your first movie appearance was Abbott and Costello Goes to Mars from 1953. Let's surprise you right now. Take a quick look at a very young Harry Shearer, ladies and gentlemen.
This is my life.
Sure, I know how a jet plane works, and rocket ships and spaceships.
How does a spaceship work?
Sure. A spaceship? A spaceship. Well, first you gotta have a lot of space, and then you want me to learn you how to spin a top?
How does a spaceship work?
Spaceship. All you do is pull a string and away it goes.
Oh, yeah. Still that cutting-edge sarcasm even back then.
That's right. It's too bad they don't give Oscars for that kind of work, isn't it?
There you are, right there, striking. It's sort of a Clint Eastwood pose you've taken on there, I think.
My next line was, "You talking to me?"
Oh, it was, yeah, that's what I meant. It was more of a De Niro pose.
Well, at least the orthodonture worked, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
The teeth are like...
What do you remember of this time? Anything? I mean, with this whole experience?
Yeah, I worked a lot with Jack Benny on the Jack Benny program, and I remember mainly how wonderful he was. He was incredibly smart, incredibly generous to his cast. I mean, he loved nothing more than for other people around him to get laughs, because he knew he could always get a laugh by just reacting. It spoiled me for other people in comedy. You know, I thought everybody was going to be like, let's all get laughs. But it's not like that, of course, as you know, Greg.
You're demonstrating. I demonstrate that 4 nights a week, as it turns out. You read all these tragedies about child actors. How did you manage to weed yourself out?
Excuse me, I have to do a little heroin, and I'll be right back to answer that question.
What happens to all those child kids, star actor
Well,
types?
I think it's bad parenting. I think, again, I was very lucky. My parents were sane. They didn't push me or pull me. They allowed me to do it because I was having a great time, but they didn't have any stake in it. They didn't have any ego about it. And I saw a lot of real bad parents with child actors, and you just feel like, oh, man, this is sad.
That probably is a lot to do with it. Of course it is.
Yeah.
Right. Because you've turned out very well, mister.
Well, thank you very much.
We'll do a quick break. Right back with Harry Shearer.
Old people taken advantage of somewhere in the Southwest. A third world civil war with which you may or may not be familiar. Kittens. And another rebroadcast of the Vladimir Horowitz piece. Good evening. I'm Mike Wallace.
Tomorrow night is Joe Mantegna, excellent actor.
Wonderful
and it is
actor.
time now for the later letter. This comes to you from a fellow Angelino, Danny Elfman, as it turns out.
It's lucky Tom Brokaw doesn't host this show, because the later letter would not work at all.
And finally, tonight, the later letter. Presented to you, man. Dear Harry, one in Spinal... Oh, it's a two-parter.
Two-parter.
This is exciting. One, in Spinal Tap, was your chest hair authentic, or was it merely a merkin?
Every inch authentic. Every inch real.
Thank you. It's a two-parter.
Please hold your applause until all the answers are concluded.
Is it true you're starting an offshoot of Le Show called El Show, as has been widely rumored?
Should have been a one-parter. No.
Harry, it's always great to have you on the show.
Pleasure.
Both times. Thanks
you.
a lot. Hope
Thanks.
you'll be on again. That's going to do it for us. We'll see you back here tomorrow with Joe Montana. Have yourself a good night, buddy.
Darling, you have a cup? Put these in there.